Hello and welcome to my last episode from my mission to Jool. So we set ourselves up for a landing in Leith, and we got the lander out of the Independence because we want to be as light as possible if we're going down to Leith. So we parked the lander in space, and now we're gonna take the Kerbin with us, because then I can have two people work on the science lab while the other guy is collecting all of the science. So yeah, we're getting him just back to the Independence, and then we're gonna set up our maneuver to find a piece of land. So actually, I hope we can find some flats that we can land on. I have no idea how this, how the Independence will handle on Leia's atmosphere, and even if we can brake properly or if it's just all gonna explode. But we'll find out soon. So let's just get this guy back in here, and once again I have to be careful because they tend to flip out when they try to grab just onto the cockpit, but there we go. Alright, just resetting all of the science base and checking if we get everything. Yeah, looks good, like we got everything. I sometimes forget if I did things or if I didn't do things. So yeah, here we are setting up my maneuver to get to that piece of land down there. It seemed the biggest one on the day side of the planet. Even though it goes into the dark side of the planet soon, I hoped that it would be day long enough. And you'll see it actually works. So here we have our maneuver, just normal orbital mechanics, accelerating and getting there. Okay, just a little bit more, and there we go. I really like the new feature where you can just click your maneuver nodes away in the normal view, and you don't have to go to map view and click on the specific maneuver node anymore. So here we're just checking if all the fuel is balanced properly, and so we want to be nose heavy, as I said before, to make re-entry a lot more stable. But in flight I also have to check that everything's stable. So here we are dumping the rest of the oxidizer, which we're not going to use anymore since we landed on all the planets, and the lander is still completely fueled in case we have some kind of issue or mission to go to, or I don't know. But yeah, so we got rid of the oxidizer and we're slowly descending into the atmosphere at very slow speeds. We barely get any. Actually, we should get some. There we go. There we get the re-entry effects. But we're not that fast, so we should not have a problem at all. So we're already collecting science here from the upper atmosphere. As I said before, I want to get the most out of this trip. And we can collect from the upper atmosphere, lower atmosphere, flying at Leith, and then of course when we landed at Leith. What I'm probably not be able to get is the water biome on Leith. I would have had to have a probe land in it, or have some kind of vehicle which would allow me to get from A to B. Well, actually get from the Independence to the ocean. But I didn't bring any of this along because I thought we're gonna collect enough science anyway. Alright, so this here looks like a good spot to go down. And yeah, let's take out the landing gear, turn the aero brakes on, and slowly. Okay, now we have to pull up and see that we go down, but go down gently. I don't want to break this now. That would be really sad if I would break this now. And woo! Landing! Nothing is follow. Oh. Whew. Okay, so nothing exploded. Oh, this is a real relief. Getting this to work, this just feels like a real accomplishment. I mean, as much as you can feel accomplished by playing video games, but I am a very pro video gamer, as you can kind of make out from the videos I'm making and actually being quite enthusiastic about the way I play games. But you guys don't know me, and now I made my statement. So let's get the ladder down and start collecting science. The more the better. And let's get out. And here we go. First man on Layeth. Yes. Time to plant the flag. Alright, so this is going to be our first Layeth landing, and the mission to Jool was successful. The Independence held up to her expectations, and of course, yeah, Kenzen Kerman is the first Kerbin on Layeth. Quite an achievement for the Kerbal space program. So let's take a sample, and there we go. Time to get back to the ship, and now it's time to science, which I'm not going to bore you guys with because it's running back and forth, collecting, processing, sending it away, and then going back out and collecting it all again. So it actually has turned night as I predicted, but we're ready for takeoff nevertheless, since we don't have to be afraid of any kind of surfaces or other things in our way. So we set ourselves up as a target for the lander, which I want to take back with me to Kerbin, because every time you land on a stellar body, you have, the capsule or the main part of the ship gets a certain amount of science attached to them. So pretty much if you land on Layeth, you bring it back home, it says, okay, you bring back 60 science just for bringing the entire ship back. So that's how you can get a little bit of extra science. So it's so late I can't even talk English anymore. Alright, so here we're just collecting the science for flying at Layeth. And yeah, it's just basic maneuvering, trying to get up to the lander. Now, if you're in a very, very low orbit, you kind of have to be careful when trying to set up a rendezvous with a different vehicle. As you can see there, my periaps is in the atmosphere of Layeth. So I just set up pretty much a very drastic maneuver to get as close as I can, as quickly as I can, because we still have so much fuel left, we don't have to worry about anything. So yeah, just basic rendezvousing we're doing right here, and yeah, you see me totally over accelerating more than is necessary. But as I said, we want to be quick because we actually have a window to catch. We have like 1 day or so left for our opportunity to leave the Jool system and get to Kerbin. So let's just get this a little bit stable and get this guy up here, and the second guy needs to get over into the lander. Now the lander does have could be remote controlled, so I could actually have landed it in water. Even though I would have never gotten it out, I could have collected a little bit of science. But as I said before, I really wanted to bring it home, so I did not do that. And I didn't set it up to receive any data right now, so I couldn't have controlled it from afar and just brought it in. So Actually, I had to do an EVA to get this guy to bring the lander back. Alright. And here we go. Bring back all of the panels, and once again my amazing docking skills come into play, which I would not be able to do without the docking alignment indicator. Really thanks to all the guys who are working on these mods and making gaming like this so much fun. It's just kind of sad that the vanilla game is not going as fast as some people hope, or all of us who play the game are wishing for. I can actually wait for the next update where they're gonna introduce missions, and I hope they introduce money soon, because that will be an interesting factor, because I can mess around a lot when I have infinite amount of money or resources, but once you have to go down to very low resources and actually have to see if it is worth doing that mission, or if you really want that extra delta V on it and you actually have to calculate it, it would be quite interesting. But yeah, so here I'm just setting up my maneuver to get as close to Kerbin as possible, and checking everything once again, turning off the torque so this doesn't spin around too much. Set ourselves up a maneuver to accelerate, and a little bit more. Alright, and it's time to go home again. And go. I could have probably set up a better maneuver for this, but I got it to the right way. We have enough fuel, we have enough food, we have enough water. The only thing we probably run out of will be board games. But at least there are 3 guys, so at least if 2 guys hate each other, they can at least talk to the one guy. Alright, here we go. Just a little bit more. And yeah, there we go. Alright, ooh. Let's take a quick view. Our last view of Layeth, Planet, I don't know, and Jool. And let's punch the hyperdrive, and here we go. So yeah, 2 Kerbin years later, it took that long. Keep in mind with the update, they changed, so 6 hours are now a Kerbin day, so the calculations changed. If you want to return to how it was before, you have to set it up in the settings. But otherwise, I actually like the new setup. It kind of, yeah, it really doesn't matter. So, yeah, and here we are once again, having the bug again, where the generator and the fusion reactor won't turn on again. And I didn't want to go into editing save files again, mucking around to get it to work again. So yeah, I did something else. You can call me cheater or whatever you want, but I had to delete, or just for this part I had to remove deadly reentry. Because normally what I would have done is I would have gotten into close orbit at a very high altitude, had a very slow aero brake, and used the rest of the fuel and the engine to slow ourselves down. But since we were over 5,000 meters per second, this ship could not withstand the deadly reentry parts. And as you will see in a second, there it starts. Having 2 struts connected to the cargo bay was not enough to hold this in stable. So here we have the lander swinging around like a feather in the wind, somehow being still attached to the docking port. But yeah, this was really hard to steer, not making it freak out. Also, the problem is that the ship now is, even though I moved all of the fuel that I still had to the front of the ship, it is still a little bit back heavy, and I was afraid I was gonna have a hard time steering, but I actually got it to work, even though with the lander flying around back there like, Yeah, feather in the wind. Let's call it feather in the wind. Okay, so we get out a little bit higher again out of the atmosphere before we can get anywhere clear to the runway. I really hope that I can make it to the runway. That would be really cool if after all of this and the engine's not working and everything, we still get to make it to the runway. That would be really awesome. But let's see. Let's first of all get out of the atmosphere again. Then maybe we can reattach these struts. Oh, there it is. Completely safe and unharmed. Interesting. Okay, so a little bit more. 80,000. Yeah, that's more than enough. Atmosphere only goes to 70,000, so here we are reattaching those struts for more stability. Even though I have the feeling that, once again, I screw up. There we go. That this will be flying around with re-entry once again. So yeah, putting fuel more to the nose. And yeah, let's see. I mean, I don't have any way to change my orbit right now because RCS will not change my orbit if I'm that close to Kerbin. So what I will have to rely on is the aerodynamics of the Independence. And from the testing that I've done, she flies fairly well even when she's completely fueled. What I have not tested is how this thing flies if the lander is inside. What I wanted to do is, I wanted to, as I did on Layeth, leave the lander in a parking orbit and then land both vehicles separately. But since I don't have any engines anymore, I could not have gotten into a stable orbit without aerobraking. And aerobraking two vehicles at the same time is nearly impossible, not to say it is impossible. So yeah, let's there again it starts to flip out, and yeah. Well, you can see the upgraded visual enhancement mod here with the nice new volumetric clouds, and this thing flops around like so we really overshoot our landing site. I don't think we can make it back to Kerbal Space Center, but maybe we can make it to the abandoned landing strip on that island over there. So we're still high up enough so we could make it, but I'm really worried about our cargo and that thing flapping around and messing with my controls here. This really sucks. There's no other way to put it. Because how is this gonna freak out once I'm trying to go into landing? Will it just scrape at the bottom, destroy the entire Independence? Well, fun thing is though that the Independence seems very rigid and doesn't seem to be moving about at all. It's actually just the lander flipping out and making flying this hell. Whoa! Ooh, holy crap, that was close. Whoa. That just, it's like a pendulum. Okay, let's use the air brakes a little bit, and okay, so, so what happened here is that I deployed the landing gear, and it deployed the landing gear from the lander as well, which therefore then stuck to the back of the ship and made it stick again. But there you see it, explosion. So yeah, that's what's left of the lander. Very little. But we had a landing, we had a successful landing, partly successful landing, and let's see here how much bounty we got. Holy crap. We have over 9,000 signs from this trip, and this is just the data I brought back. The data that I sent back was pretty much the same amount. Well, a little bit less probably, but it was a lot. So we can now finally go in, unlock the warp drive, and maybe I'm going to mess around with it in future episodes. Thank you guys for watching my little first try on making YouTube videos. I hope you enjoyed them. And I will try to make some more. So until next time, have fun. Play Kerbal Space Program.